Best of r/malicious compliance episode 64. Subscribe for Reddit videos daily. One of my first days working as a server, a group of women from next door came in to eat. One of them ordered a kid's meal hamburger and a Diet Pepsi. I wasn't experienced enough to argue with her about the age restriction on the kid's meal, so I just let it go. I brought her a Diet Pepsi in a normal, adult glass. She had 3 or 4 refills of soda and a few French fry refills with her meal. Besides her, the table was generally pleasant. When it came time to pay the bill, she called me back over and said this Diet Pepsi is supposed to come with my meal for free. I won't pay for it. So, naturally I went to get the manager and figured he would just take it off her check. This particular manager didn't play like that, I guess. He went over and asked her what the issue was. She told him about the drink clearly coming with a kid's meal, that it was printed right there on the menu. He grabs the kid's menu, holds it 2 inches from her face and says, "It also clearly states that the kids' meals are only for guests 12 and under," then walks away. At this point I am not sure where this was heading. He returns with the check and says, "I charge you for a junior adult burger and fries, and your adult soda, have a great day. I'd hate to not honor what it clearly says on our menu," and slaps the check presenter onto the table. The other 3 women are mortified that it has come to this. They pay their checks, leave some cash on the table and walk out. The complainer waits until they leave, grabs the money they left for my tip and says, "You don't deserve this, you embarrassed me," and walks out. It was well worth it. Edit/TL. Dr. A $6 meal turned into an $11 meal because the menu must be honored. Thank you. Next. Short, sweet MC. For those who aren't aware, it's Girl Scout cookie season. This is a very important season in our house, and my boyfriend and I bought our first box, Samoas. A far superior cookie. I was snacking on some Samoas, including giving a whole cookie to the baby. To be fair, she threatened me. My boyfriend heard me munching on the cookies and told me I was, under no uncertain terms, to eat all the cookies. If I did eat all the cookies, I would have to go to a Girl Scout tomorrow and replace them. So I did what anyone else would do. I left him 1 single cookie. Tomorrow, I'm walking to the store and replacing the cookies. Thank you. Next. Sorry this is a bit long, but I really needed to tell this story. I work as a mechanic at a manufacturing plant in nowhere, America, and I have been for over a decade now. Before I got assigned to my current location, the only way to get coffee here was to either bring some from home or pay $1 at a vending machine to get the crappy cheap stuff. I decided to go with the first option, but took it even further by bringing my spare coffee maker from home and then bringing in the usual supplies periodically. I kept it in the mechanic's office in plain view. For the longest time, it was very apparent that I was the only one using my coffee maker, even though I never said it was exclusively for me. This went on for about a year until I got a partner on my shift who also drank coffee. We came up with the idea of starting a coffee fund by leaving a jar for spare change next to the coffee maker. Whenever we ran out of something like sugar or whatever, one of the 2 of us would use the accumulated change in the jar to help replenish our supplies. This was all well and good, until my partner got promoted to maintenance supervisor some years later, making him my new boss, and I was by myself again. I left the jar sitting next to the coffee maker as usual and kept using the old routine. I also put a note on the side of the maker, in plain view, that said, "If you use the coffee maker, please put some spare change in the coffee fund jar so we can keep the supplies in stock." This was just in case someone from a different shift decided to use it when I wasn't there. However, one day I noticed that I was running out of sugar way too fast. I don't put much sugar in my coffee to begin with, so this told me that someone else was using the coffee maker. Eventually I noticed that all the supplies were getting too low too fast and not just the sugar. This normally wouldn't be a big deal, except I also noticed that the jar wouldn't accumulate like it used to. It either had the change I put into it, or someone would be taking change out but not restocking our coffee supplies. I put up with this for a little while, but I eventually got fed up with being the only one buying supplies for the coffee while 1 or more others were using it and taking money out of the jar. I took the coffee maker home and just started filling up my thermos with coffee and bringing it to work with me. About a week later, I get stopped in the aisle by a supervisor, not mine, as I'm trying to leave for the day. The following exchange occurs. Me is me. Saul, not his real name, is supervisor. Saul, hey, Seth Borth, what happened to the coffee maker? Did it break? Me, I was wondering who else was using it. Nah, it didn't break. I just got tired of people taking money out of the coffee fund jar without using said money to buy more supplies. I was still buying them out of pocket. Saul, you took it home. Me, yeah, I've just been using my thermos to bring coffee. He cut me off. Saul, you can't just take company property like that. You weren't the only person using it, we all use it. Me, but it's me. He cut me off again. Saul, you either bring that back or I'm reporting this to my boss, and we'll see what he's going to do about it. Me, I'll bring it in if people will actually contribute to the fund instead of me having to buy everything out of pocket. Saul, you'll do your job. Me, my job is to fix these machines, not be the company barista. Saul, it better be in there tomorrow or I'm going to my boss about it. He walks off before I could say anything else. Next day comes and I, of course, didn't bring my coffee maker back to the plant. At the end of my shift, Saul confronts me again. Saul, Seth Borth, did you bring the coffee maker back? Me, nah, I told you, I'm not going to be the only one supplying it. Saul, you can't just keep company property at home. That coffee maker has been in there for years and you need to bring it back. Me, I know it's been in there for years. It's been in there for as long as I've been here because I brought it from home. That's my coffee maker. Saul, I'm calling my boss right now and we'll see what happens to you. Me, laughing, go ahead. I don't care. You can't tell me what to do with my personal property. I then walk out to my car and leave. While on the way home, my boss calls me. If you recall from earlier in this story, he used to be my partner. Even after his promotion, we remained close friends. The following conversation happens. Bob, not his real name, is my boss slash former partner slash close friend. Me, picking up the phone, hey, Bob, what's up? Bob, I just got off the phone with Saul. What's all this about you taking company property home? That's not like you, man. What's he even talking about? Me, he didn't tell you what it was? Bob, nope. He just said you admitted to stealing company property and refused to return it. Me, did you even ask what the supposed company property is? Bob, I did, but he wouldn't calm down enough to tell me. Looked like you really pissed him off. Me, yeah I know. Hey, you remember that coffee maker I had in the office way back when? Bob, haha yeah the coffee fund, right? Did anyone else besides us start using that thing? Man, did I ever tell you that I still haven't had a cup of coffee as good as how you made it back then? Why are you bringing this up, anyway? Wait, don't tell me that the company property Saul is referring to is me. Yeah, he's talking about my coffee maker. Bob, look, Seth Borth, I know that's your personal property, but I really don't want Saul raising a stink about this to management. Nothing will come of it if he does. But it will just be a big waste of time for them to investigate and eventually write up some stupid company-wide email about property theft and blah blah blah. Just bring it back. Me, I'm not going to be the only one supplying the coffee. Bob, how about this? Bring it back in, but keep a spare set of coffee supplies in your personal locker. Bring in some supplies for everyone to use at first. Even use the coffee fund jar again. But after that initial stock, just only resupply for yourself. That way, if Saul or anyone else wants to use it, they are going to have to bring in their own supplies when that initial stock runs dry. Is that okay with you? Me, I think I'll do that. And that's what I did. The next day, I did as Bob asked, but I also kept additional supplies for myself in my personal locker. I didn't tell anyone else about this except for Bob. Saul confronted me yet again that same day. Saul, I see you brought the coffee maker back. Me, yeah. Bob asked me to. Saul, you're lucky he didn't report you to human resources for it. Me, report me to human resources. For a coffee maker. Yeah okay. Saul, whatever. We can all have our coffee again no thanks to you. Me, no thanks to me, yet it's my coffee maker. Saul, don't get that tone with me. I'll call Bob and he'll straighten you out again. As planned, I let the initial coffee supply stock run dry without ever replenishing it. I also didn't contribute anything to the coffee fund jar. This took about a week, and there was never any change in the jar. Saul confronts me yet again. Saul, hey, Seth Borf, we are completely out of creamer and sugar, and the coffee tin itself is running low. Me, yeah okay. Saul, don't you think you should get on that? Me, I'm not the company barista. Saul, okay but we don't have any creamer nor sugar. Me, then buy some. Saul, I thought you did that. Me, oh me? No, I had surgery that prevents me from shitting out creamer. Bring your own. Saul, Seth Borf, you need to do your job. Me, I do my job. What do you do? Saul, Seth. Me, number. Saul, what do you do? Don't say your job, because your job isn't to pester someone to buy coffee supplies out of their own pocket, is it? Saul, IUHH. That's not very nice. Me, you're right. It's not very nice at all. It's also not nice to complain to Bob because I won't bring my own personal property to work, now is it? Saul, but we need coffee. Me, then bring your own. This isn't my job. If you want creamer then you need to bring it in yourself. I'm not supplying the coffee anymore. Saul, Seth Borf, I'll call Bob a gay. Me, call him then. He'll tell you the same thing I just told you and you'll have wasted your time. Just like how you're wasting my time now. I'm going home. Have a good one. I start waking out. Saul, wait, come back. When I go in for my next shift, all the supplies are fully stocked, and they remain that way for good. Someone else has taken the responsibility of resupplying the coffee. I even notice change in the jar regularly building up. I haven't contributed a single penny, but it's still filling up. Someone else has taken over handling the coffee supplies. I haven't asked who, but I think either Saul is doing it himself or he's got someone else doing it. It's free coffee for me, so I don't care either way. Update. Thanks for the silver. Update. Thanks for the gold. Update. Thanks for the bless up. Update. Thanks for the bless up pro. Update. Thanks for the ring. Update. Eliminated all acronyms as to abide by the subs rules. Thank you. Next. For a school assignment I had to pick 5 pieces of poetry and explain why I chose those pieces and a summary what it was about. At the time I listened to a lot of rap music, so I picked 5 rap songs which contained the least swear words and censored them. I made sure that the subject of those songs corresponded with the assignment and submitted it to my teacher. I also had to write a short poem myself which could be about anything, so I chose to write about what I thought of the assignment. I wrote something respectful but also brutally honest. My teacher was not happy to say the least. He said I completely misunderstood the assignment and demanded I choose 5 new pieces and to make sure that it's poetry this time and not rap. He also said I was mocking him in my self-written piece. I explained to him that rap stands for rhythm and poetry, so you can't tell me that I didn't submit 5 pieces of poetry. You may not like the choices I made, but I did the assignment as described. As for the self-written piece, it wasn't mocking or impolite. I simply expressed how I felt that I gained no benefit from this assignment. I didn't swear or personally attack anyone. He admitted defeat since I did the assignment the way he wanted, just not the way he expected. Thank you. Next. 15 years ago, Australia. Government electrical contracting can be all kinds of things. This day it was a little bit fun. Background. We had a job to upgrade the switchboards in an office block. The plan given to us by Govt called for 2 suites of offices to be done at a time, on weekends only. Specifically, Saturdays only. Our teams could obviously get more done in a day, and over a whole weekend, but this was the plan. The plan called for removing and replacing the existing switchboards and fitting new ones. For the Sparky's reading, the old boards in this old building had no RCD/RCBOs, so the apprentices should have some fun helping chase the problem circuits. The planned schedule was communicated in advance to the suites that would be affected. 1 month prior, 1 week prior, and the day before. Important to note that once we started a switchboard, there would be no power in the chosen suites until we finished. Story. This fine Saturday morning it was 7 AM on day 1 of the plan. The rest of the crew were due in about 30 minutes with all the gear. The 2 suites we were doing that day belonged to the same Govt department. Each suite had 5 offices with windows that saw into the central open plan space. About 20 people worked in each suite. So, 7 AM I'm drinking my coffee while standing at the switchboard of suite 1. It's on a wall in the open plan. I can see into the offices. In walks a people from the suite's front doors. They stop dead when they see me. Person, sounding surprised and annoyed. Who are you and what are you doing here? I'm thinking, oh, they didn't read the plan. Me, injecting some happy into my voice. Good morning. Just doing some electrical work here today. Have you seen? Get cut off before I can mention the plan. Person, now just annoyed. I don't have time for this. Just get on with it. Person heads into the office labeled manager and turns on the lights. So they are now manager for this story. Pause here for a sec. Okay. So as an office worker, if you unexpectedly met an electrician in your office, who says they are doing work, you might have a few questions. Like, is it going to affect me? And how long will it take? I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, so I go over to their office and try again. Me, excuse me, the work here today is, again, don't get to bring up the plan. Manager, annoyed and dreary sounding now, look, can you just do your work and leave me alone? And here we are. Delicious compliance. I go back to the switchboard, head hanging in shame. I have failed. Not really though, because I've been at this rodeo before. See username. I go around to each office and turn on the lights, because I can hear the chimes of manager's PC turning on. This is purely for effect. I already have the open plan lights on. Back at the switchboard I put my finger on the circuit breaker for power in the manager's office, waiting until the PC has booted. Flick, power out. Manager's UPS begins its beeping. Choose another breaker. Flick, lights in the manager's office go out. Manager, calling out, hey, what are you doing? Flick, lights in the next office go out. After all, it wouldn't be MC if I didn't follow their directive. The race is on. I have a finale planned. How many offices lights do I get to turn off before it happens? 2 more and then manager is out of their office and standing 2 meters from me, glaring. I put my hand on the big black main switch. Manager, quite vexed, I said, what are you doing? Me, straight-faced, looking manager in the eyes. We're doing the switchboard changeouts, outlined in the plan. You're on all the emails I've seen. I turned the main switch. It makes a satisfying car chunk sound. All the lights, indeed all the power in this suite is now out. All the other UPSs join in, underscoring this scene with their nice beeping chorus. From the light coming through the windows I see realization dawning. The manager turns, heads to their office and gathers their things and stuff. Dear reader, remember when I said the 2 suites we were doing that day belonged to the same govt department? Manager has 2 doors to choose from. The front door, or the interconnecting door. I feel like you've guessed which door they chose. At the time I was kinda maybe hoping they would choose that one too. After turning off the UPSs, I head outside to wait for the team. 15 minutes later I'm recounting events to the others. We have a laugh. While they start gathering the gear, I feel 25 minutes is enough time to have logged in, checked emails, reread the plan and leave. I head to suite 2. Manager is in an office busily typing away. Oh dear. I head to the switchboard, grab the main switch. Manager is looking at me now. Me, looking manager in the eyes again, call out with actual sincerity. I am so sorry about this. Did you want to save your work first? Manager seems to be saving so I wait. I'm not a monster. I wait until they have their hand on the front door, then car chunk. Aftermath. None. I mean, what could manager do in the face of the plan? We had a great day. The apprentices got some solid electrical experience. Addendum. 5 weeks later I walked into suite 9 at 7 AM. In this 5 weeks I'd learned that manager had been seconded to another department, located in suite 9. Again, I had been kinda maybe hoping. Manager did not disappoint. When I saw them in their office typing away, in full breach of the now 5-week-old the plan, I will here admit that the monster won. Ka-chunk. Edit. Formatting. Thank you. Next. 5 years ago this year, I worked in a tourist attraction from March to September. The amount of choosing beggars and entitled parents that came through was unbelievable, but they're not for here. On my last week there, An entitled mother comes over to me and asks for a ticket to see Santa for her young kid about 6-8. Now, it doesn't take a genius to know you won't find a Santa in early September. When I told her Santa isn't there so we aren't selling tickets, she started shouting and screaming about how we're advertising it, which we weren't, so we shall sell her tickets to it. At the same time, her kid started screeching, deafening everyone there. I decided to call my boss over to try to calm the situation. She told my boss that I was being incredibly rude and demanded I sell her a ticket to see Santa as it is advertised. My boss just told her we're not advertising it and walked away, leaving her to keep screaming and kid screeching even more at me. Yay. Thanks boss, useless bitch. After what felt like an hour of back and forth, the entitled mother yells she's had enough and storms off towards the shop, leaving her kid to slowly follow. Not 5 minutes later, EM returned, cutting in queue, demanding I tell her kid there is no Santa and why. As it was my last week, I did exactly that. I turned to the kid and said, "Hey, kid, there is no such thing as Santa. He doesn't exist. Mummy is lying to you." With that, tears start running down the kid's face as he starts screaming and the mother just screams and then yells that there is no way she's going to spend however much to get in just so I can get a share of her money, and proceeded to storm off, dragging her young kid away, sending her kid flying into the desk in the process. Was this a dick move? Yes. Do I regret what I did? No. Did I get in trouble for this? No. Edit. Thank you kind person for the silver award. Thank you. Next. I work in the theater industry, the live entertainment type, and was doing a freelance gig as a carpenter building a set. As normal, the budget was 50% less than it needed to be and I had to do in 2 days what should have taken a week. I get paid a day rate, so regardless of how long I am there, I get the same amount. But the rate agreed was very good, so it was worth going the extra mile and putting in the hours. So I started early, worked through breaks and finished late. On the second day I just had a couple of things to join together with bolts, a simple 5-minute job right at the end of the day, but it was late, about 11:30 p.m. The venue had a noise curfew at 10 p.m. which is designed for the rock concerts playing live music at loud volumes. However, the venue's manager, who had only been working there about a month, was very insistent that I was making too much noise with my tools. It was his first experience of a show being put in. The previous production was already open when he joined. Manager, you can't make any noise after 10 p.m. We have a noise curfew here. Me, the noise curfew is set at 90 dB and there's a meter on the wall over there to monitor it. My tools at registering over 75 dB. I always work late like this on these shows. Sometimes I'm here until 4-5 a.m. if I need to be, to make sure everything is ready. Manager, no, you aren't allowed to make any noise after 10 p.m. You have to stop what you're doing. Me, but you're making noise talking to me. I don't think you'll find it any noise. It's 90 dB. I have this one last job to do and then I'm going home. It's going to take 15 minutes at most. Manager, that's not possible. You have to stop now. Me, are you sure about that? They really want this set finished so they can rehearse here tomorrow. If I have to come back tomorrow then it's going to be very inconvenient for everyone, and for no reason. Manager, you can't make any noise so it will have to wait. So I did as I was told, packed away my tools and came back in the morning. The next day the producer was more than a little annoyed, but I explained the issue with the manager. He instructed me to finish building the set, which I did in about 10 minutes. I then took great pleasure in handing the manager my invoice for 3 days work, even though I'd been there for probably less than half an hour. It was perhaps a little churlish of me, but the point is, I could have had to cancel another job to come in on the 3rd day. Besides, the rule says I get paid day rate regardless of how long I'm needed. The manager realized his mistake when he spoke to their technical director and I never had to stop working late again.